Hey there folks, so today's video is about the recent price drops that are happening in the community, and especially a lot of the fragrances are dropping a lot of prices, and I'm guessing that this is a time where you're going to look at buying at least one particular fragrance or one fragrance for this particular summer. So I thought, okay, let's talk about different price points that are available for most of these fragrances, and which do you think is more value for money at this particular point in time, because spending about 3,500 rupees, up to 3,500 rupees, is quite a challenge for most of us. And if you are looking to consider getting just one particular fragrance, then yes, you might want to do a lot of research before you actually make that buy, right? So let's get into this particular video. You're watching the Perfume Experience. My name is Rodney. Let's get started right after this intro. Alright, so the first ones to talk about is Havas. Okay, now Havas, if you notice, Rasasi has been dropping prices like crazy. So specifically, Rasasi's Ice or Rasasi's Havas is now actually available for, let's say, about 2,600 rupees to sub 3,000 rupees. You should comfortably be able to get Rasasi Havas. Whereas Ice itself is between 3,000 to 3,500 rupees. It's in that ballpark figure. Some community sellers like Fragaholic and Mom Perfumes and Fragstock, they are actually selling it for much, a very competitive pricing. So around 3,500 to 3,000 rupees is a good amount or a good price to kind of get these particular fragrances. Now, when you look at these two, okay, obviously if you think about Havas and Havas Ice, I personally like Havas Ice, and Havas Ice would be a very good option to consider because of its nature of this aquatic, fruity vibes, a little bit of that tartness, and of course a nice powdery dry down is something that you kind of get. So Havas Ice would also be a very good option to consider at about 3 to 3,500 rupees. Okay, now aside to this, there are other fragrances also which kind of last long. Now most of you, when you are looking to buy a fragrance like this, if you're looking to buy that one particular fragrance that can be worn across the summer, should be long lasting, should get you compliments, there are quite a few ones that come into your mind, and definitely, like I said, Havas Ice is one of them, right? So it does make sense to consider this as one of the fragrances to look at. Okay, so one is Havas, one is Havas Ice. Between the two, I would say Havas Ice. Now there are 2 or 3 more fragrances from this particular brand which are also existing. One is Havas Black. Now Havas Black, for example, I think was about 4,000 change. Now it's kind of dropping down to 4,000 rupees. So if you are able to get that, that's also a good signature smell. Now Havas Black, I haven't personally smelt it, but I believe it is a blend between Nishane Hashivat and Aventus Absolute. But if we are able to get this particular frag, we will definitely decant it for summer, and we should be able to review this as well. Now within that scope, there are 2 more fragrances that are going to be dropped this particular summer. One is Havas Fire. Okay, now Fire is already on route to us. Maybe we should be able to get it in a couple of days. Now that, I believe, is a DNA which is more refined for summer. So that is also a good fragrance to be considered, I believe, because the performance kind of sounds good. The scent profile sounds good as well, which is like Eros and a little bit like Aventus and that kind of a DNA. Maybe when we smell it, I'll be able to know better. But that is also available for about 4,500 rupees to 4,700 rupees as well. Okay, and then of course there is also going to be the Elixir that is going to be dropped out in a few days time or a few weeks time. Now Elixir is, I'm told, it's going to be Jean Paul Gaultier's Ultra Male or La Male kind of a fragrance. So I'm not really sure whether it will be a good one to get for this particular summer. Okay, now if you look at Rasasi, why there is a lot of price drop suddenly that you see, whereas Havas Ice was selling for 4,500 rupees last year, is now come down to almost 3 to 3,500 rupees, which is a good 1,000 rupees lesser. Now there are rumors saying that there is some conflict happening within Rasasi itself, and the brothers are trying to sell off the fragrances as per their distributors and for much lesser prices accordingly. But this is hearsay, so I'm not really sure whether this is a concrete thing. But I believe that every year the prices of these fragrances will drop to make way for the new fragrances to come. So if you look at this particular year, we are going to get Havas Black, which is already there in the market. Now we are going to get Fire. So these are 2 popular fragrances, and of course if you want to sell the newer fragrances, so you have to exhaust the older ones at a much better price, and that's pretty much what's happening, is what I believe. However, now if you do not want to spend about 3,000 to 3,500 rupees to consider getting Havas ice, then you can definitely consider getting Frost ice from Ahmad Al Maghrabi as well, which is also a very good option considering that is about sub 2,000 rupees and which almost smells like Havas ice. But it doesn't replace Havas ice. So if you still want to get that, yes, Havas ice is a very good buy at about that particular price point. And I am very optimistic towards the Havas fire as well, that it will be one of the nicer fragrances in this particular summer to consider. Even at the 4,500 rupees price point, it will be a good one is what I want to believe, or I think it will be, right? Right. What else is available? Right. Then other fragrances that are also having a lot of price drop is also one of these fragrances, which is Theorem Matrix. Okay, now Theorem Matrix is actually a pretty good fragrance. I did not come around reviewing this, but I've smelled it a couple of times, worn it a couple of times, and this is a fragrance I think that sits between Aventus Absolute and then Nishane Hashivat. It kind of sits in that kind of a DNA because the dry down is a little more powdery vanilla kind of a dry down. It's not a out and out Nishane Hashivat clone for sure, but definitely has a lot of nuances of Aventus Absolute. Now this will be a killer fragrance for this particular summer, especially for summer evenings, and this is also as a price drop. This was available for about 2,000, 2,200 rupees. Now it is dropped to about 1,800 rupees, 1,600 to 1,800 rupees, sub that particular price point, which is absolutely fantastic. So you get a 90 ml of this also to consider, especially if you want a DNA that's slightly different compared to Havas and you want a little more complementing type of a DNA. I think this will be a very good one to consider at about 1,800 rupees roughly. Okay, so Theorem is definitely one to consider. Theorem Matrix. While we're talking about Theorem Matrix, we can also talk about Theorem itself. Now, Theorem actually went to a really low price a couple of months back, especially this happens during winters. They tend to reduce the prices of fragrances that they have in stock so that they can clear them off. And you will notice that all of these fragrances that we're talking about, in March, April, you will definitely see these prices going back a little more higher because demand will be higher and supply will be short, and you will notice that like this particular fragrance went almost up to 2,400 rupees as well last year. This will also go up this year. So if you're able to get this, say 1,650, 1,750, 1,850, pick up, because Theorem itself is a fantastic fragrance for summer, and it actually has got a very good DNA of that grapefruit, ginger, sandalwood. Very, very beautiful fragrance and lasts really long. So very nice fragrance to consider. Both of them, in my opinion, Theorem Matrix and Theorem are excellent fragrances to consider at sub 2,000 rupees. Okay, now aside to this, okay, there is next. So when you think about Havas and then after you talked about Matrix, we can definitely think about the Sauvage. Sauvage is another DNA which is very popular. And then there is Modest Une. Okay, now Afnan's Modest Une is again very popular with people because it has got a very high quality of scent, which is very woody, very nice, very smooth. It captures the essence of Dear Sauvage very, very well. I have a comparison that you can check out between Dear Sauvage, Une and the other fragrance that I'm going to talk to you about. Now this also, there has been a price drop. This used to sell for about 2,800 last year. It's dropped to about 2,200, 2,400 to 2,500. At this particular price point, this is a great buy if you're somebody who loves Dear Sauvage DNA and this is your signature scent. You want to wear it for office, you want to wear it for summer, you want to grab that one bottle that grabs you a lot of attention and a lot of smoothness compliment, then yes, definitely this is a good buy to have. Okay, so at this point of time, we are not really talking about performances and this one because we are only looking at price point and what fragrances make this particular list in terms of good options to consider. Okay, now while we're talking about this, let's also talk about the other Goliath in the house, which is Sheikh Zayed Blue. Now Sheikh Zayed Blue, in my opinion, is a fantastic beast mode option of Dear Sauvage, while Afnan's Modest Une has actually got a lot more smoother edges, well-rounded edges. It's a lot more smoother. I believe this is little more sharper, but it's more greener. But this is also a good option, and we've seen this one being about 2,100 to 2,200 last year. This is about, I think, 1,800, 70, that kind of ballpark figure at this point of time. I think that's what the price that I made. Yeah, so 1,650 is what I think Fragaholic is selling it. But so even if others are, having it about 1,850 or so, 1,850, 1,950, if you're able to get this, this is still a good buy because this will definitely go up. And one more thing is, I've seen that because there is limited supply, generally you will mostly find it out of stock. So yes, this is also a very good option if you want to consider Deer Swatch DNA, a beast mode fragrance. Little sharper, but definitely works fantastic for college going students because performance is really long, good lasting that you get on this particular fragrance. So easy option to consider. Okay. Then there was another one interesting fragrance that was being spoken about, which is this. This is the Paris Corners barcode. Okay, it's actually is like this. Okay, so there's a barcode that you will see. Let me just put it up front. Okay, so this is how this particular fragrance is. Now this is actually a good alternative of Creed's Silver Mountain Water. The bottle is like this. I will do a dedicated review of it if you are interested in it. I mean, I will do it anyway. This was my scent of the day anyway. So this is a really nice fragrance, and I got it about for 1450 or something like that. This is also available around the same price point at this point of time, between 1250 to 1400, 1450. You can easily consider a very nice citrusy, green, sweet kind of a fragrance, which is absolutely good. This does have a moderate performance. Okay, so we will talk about the performance in a detailed review, but I'm saying at about 1450, 1500, if you're able to get this is also a very good alternate to consider. Okay, so like I said, there are sellers who will actually sell it for lesser, so you might have to do your research and figure out. I will put in my decants list number and the retails number, so in case if there are these fragrances are available with our vendors, we will help you get these. Okay, now while we're talking about it, there is one more fragrance that I will talk to you about a little later, which I feel is a lot more better than Barcode itself, or I will do a full comparison between the two, which is Sheikh Zayed White. Now unfortunately, Sheikh Zayed White does not actually come. I have it right here. So Sheikh Zayed White is right here, and this actually does not, it's a little difficult to get the entire 100 ml. If you're able to get 100 ml at the 2000 rupees ballpark figure, then this is superb to consider. I will do a detailed comparison between Sheikh Zayed White and Barcode as well, and let you know which fragrance is good. Okay, couple of more other fragrances to talk about this particular season. One is David of Cool Water. And now David of Cool Water, on your e-commerce platform sites, you know that this particular fragrance retails to about 5,000 rupees. The tester of this is available for about 2,000, 2,100, 200 rupees. Retail pack in the grey, in community sellers is about 2,500 rupees, which I think is a fantastic buy. If you're able to get it at much lesser than that, about 1850, 1950 or whatever for tester, and for a retail unit, this is a fantastic fragrance to have, especially if you are looking to build a fragrance collection and you want to have a cult classic fragrance that is always going to give you compliments. Lovely scent profile, sharp, aromatic, spicy, marine, with a lot of lavender, clay sage. Fantastic, fragrance, been in the market for more than 30 years, I think. So easily you can get this for that particular price point. I would say that even if you're spending close to 2,500 rupees, you still get a fantastic fragrance in David of Cool Water. No doubts about it. Absolutely bang for buck. Okay. So that is done. So Havas size is done. We spoke about Matrix. We spoke about Modest Unique. We spoke about Barcode, David of Cool Water, Sheikh Zayed. Theorem we spoke about. There are two fragrances that I would want to suggest that this particular year they will be fantastic. One, hands down, 9 PM Rebel. This summer is going to be a beautiful fragrance to have, and if you are looking to get just one fragrance, this is something that you should definitely consider. 100 ml of it for about 2,600, 2,700. Sub that particular price point, this is fantastic. I think it is dropped to even 2,300, 2,600. I'm not entirely sure, but I think 2,600 is a safe price to say. For that particular price point, you get a fantastic fragrance which is citrusy, pineapple, sweet. It's got that candy, cotton candy vibe as well. Fantastic performance, loud projection for this particular summer. If you are already owning the fragrance that we have already discussed, then this is something that you can definitely consider as a single fragrance that will do a lot of job for you for this particular year. And I strongly think this is going to be one of my favorite fragrances for this particular year in the summer's season as well. Okay. Now, all of these have been 100 ml and the theorems have been 90 ml. But there is one other fragrance where the price drop has happened substantially, and this is a good time to get it. We are talking about Club de Nuit Intense Pure Parfum UAE edition 150 ml. Okay, now the 150 ml now I think is as low as about 3,500 rupees to 3,900 rupees, 3,800 rupees. So I think 3,400, 3,500, 3,600, 3,800 is something that you should be able to get this particular fragrance. And what makes this the most valuable fragrance in this entire lineup is this is a 150 ml that you get. One. Second, I think aside to the Afnan's fragrances, which is Modest Tune and the 9pm Rebel, the best scent quality is something that you will get in this. The highest number of compliments that you will easily get in this. This one lasts really long and smells absolutely wonderful. So overall, if you look at from a full paisa vasool, value for money, when you specifically talk about value for money, what is it that you get? You get everything in Club de Nuit Intense Pure Parfum. Now, I think there was also a new edition that was just recently released called the UAE Memorial Day edition, and there is also a limited edition that is priced up at least 1,000 rupees more than this. But sub 4,000 rupees, specifically 3,738, if you're able to get this, you should definitely get this, because this is going to be that one beautiful investment that you will do in this particular summer here for a lot of fragrances, and this one particular bottle should take care of it. Now, to summarize, consider Havas Ice as one of my picks, Modest Tune, one of my picks, Sheikh Zayed Blue, Theorem Matrix, Afnan 9pm Rebel, and Club de Nuit Intense Pure Parfum as some 5-6 fragrances, of which decide to go about and buy one of those fragrances that you don't have, because Club de Nuit Intense, Afnan 9pm will have a similar type of a DNA. Matrix also in that particular DNA. Okay, only Afnan 9pm, Afnan's Modest Tune is slightly different. Okay, because that's more toward Dear Swatch. The rest are somewhere between Aventus Absolute and then actually Aventus itself, that kind of a DNA. So if you're spending your hard-earned money to buy one fragrance and you are thinking which one to buy, in my opinion, if I were in your position, I would buy Club de Nuit Intense Pure Parfum 150 ml if I did not have any other creed or alternatives or dupes. If not, I would simply buy Afnan's 9pm Rebel as the best fragrance in this particular DNA, because I absolutely love this particular scent. You will find all of my reviews for most of these fragrances on my channel, so you can definitely check them out. And do let me know in comments what are your thoughts about which fragrance should you consider getting, right? And if you want to explore most of these particular fragrances, we have them in decants. I'll put up the decants number and let me know what are your thoughts, or get in touch with us and we'll help you get these decants, right? So I'll see you on another video. Until another time, take care. Bye bye.